Monday, September 19, 2022, Township meeting in order. Please rise for the flag salute. Mrs. Link. Pledge allegiance
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God.
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law by posting a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building and by faxing notice of the meeting to the Atlantic City Press, Star-Ledger, Camden Courier, and Atlantic County Record on January the 7th, 2022. Mr. Cheek?
Here.
Ms. Hopkins? Mrs. Link?
Here.
Mr. Talley?
Here.
Here. Next, I ask you to join me for a moment of silence for private reflection, and I ask that you keep our very own Chris Lazitsky and her family in your prayers this evening as she suffered a great loss this evening. So, thank you. All right. Right now, we're going to skip. We have no guest presentations. We're going to skip over the proclamation for this time. There is no additions or deletions, so we'll move on to 2 early public comment on agenda items, excluding items listed for public hearing.
We have 1 comment for 3 days, sir.
All right, please. Who is that?
Hi, Frank Roby, 309 Farragut Avenue. I just wanted to talk about this Wells Fargo, the township purchasing the bank. Are you going to the bank?
Well, Mr. Roby, we're going to actually take action right after this, and if it works, we're going to actually table that for this evening. We are...
Here's a question.
Sure.
You don't put much information out on the agenda, but you have people come up and talk about, I didn't really know what to say, except I don't think you should be buying it. Okay. But I don't know what you're going to do with it, but without knowing what you're doing with it, it would be nice if there was more information somewhere. Also, like the ordinances, if there was a way to look them up ahead of time. So, I don't think you should be purchasing it. I don't think you should be doing it because next year, I believe, is going to be a difficult year for taxes with all the spending that y'all are doing. So that's basically all I'm doing. It was on the market for 370 days, listed for $499. You get it for $450. Not that much less for waiting that much time. And now interest rates are all going up.
I assure you, Mr. Roby, there is a vision for that property, and that's why this committee took action on that. I appreciate your comments, and we'll be able to release that vision very, very soon to the public.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. 3A. I would entertain, we've had a request, and we understand that there may be a need for public safety. If that requires us to change the bond in the interest of saving money for the township, I'd like to entertain a motion to table 3A and 5B this evening so that we can look at the information that was brought to our attention this evening, and 5C. Thank you. We plan on meeting on Thursday morning as a Public Safety Committee to review that with the Administrator and CFO as necessary and report back shortly thereafter. So with that, I would request a table on 3A and 5C, please.
So moved.
I have a motion, and I have a second. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins? Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Talley?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes. All right, we'll move on to 4A. This is ordinance 2010-2022, an ordinance amending Exhibit A, Section 1, Article 2 of Chapter 66 of the Code of the Township of Hamilton, providing for the maximum number of employees. Joe, would you?
Yes, sir. This will be a public hearing, and this ordinance adds, deletes positions, cleans up most of our personnel, cleans up the not unused court positions as well.
And 4B, just for everyone's information, 4B goes right along with this also. It
Sets the range of
sets the range.
salaries for those, yes.
So we've had considerable discussion on this committee. Are there any other questions or comments? If there is no discussion, I would entertain a motion. I have a motion by Ms. Hopkins,
Second.
a second by Mrs. Link. Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
You're on
We have to-
4A.
We are on 4A.
Public comment.
You have to open it to the public, please.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak on 4A, please? Mr. Carrigan, please.
What will this do, Charles? Is, increase the number of employees that will be employed by the township?
Jim, as the discussion we had at last meeting, this is cleaning up all the positions, putting them in the right categories, and eliminating the court positions.
Okay.
So this is merely a housekeeping issue.
Okay.
And then the next ordinance that we're going to discuss, Jim, is setting the salary parameters for each one of those that we cleaned up.
And what happened to the court that used to be here?
I'm sorry?
What happened to the court that used to be here?
The court is now part of the county municipal court system on Main Street, Jim.
Oh, okay. All right, thanks.
All right? Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to speak on this matter? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
Some,
Motion, second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. All right. We had a motion. Would you please restate your motion, please, before we open?
I just did it so moved, I was being lazy. Let me make a motion for ordinance 2010-22.
Mrs. Link, please.
it was for 4A.
Yes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Rita, could I get a roll call now, please? Thank you.
Mr. Chief?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins? Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Talley?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and no.
All right, next we have 4B. This is ordinance 2011-2022. An ordinance amending Article 2 of Chapter 66 of the Code of Township of Hamilton, providing for annual salary increases and increases in salary maximums from certain employees. This too is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak on this matter? That's right. What was your question? I can't hear you.
Is there any details behind, where can I look up this ordinance to
It's-
see what are the maximums and all that?
It's posted on the back right here,
Okay,
and it's also online. It's been online since the day after the introduction.
so I should be able to look up ordinance 2013, 2022 and find it?
No, 2011. You said 2011. 2011,
Okay,
yes.
so I can just look that up.
Yeah, and it's on, right on the back wall. You
Be
can see what
safe.
it's on.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this matter? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
Motion, second. Rita, roll call, please.
I can do one. Mr. Chief?
I'm sorry. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Cheek. Second by Ms. Hopkins. Now can I get a roll call, Rita, please?
Mr. Chief?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins? Yes. Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mr. Talley?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
All right, we'll move on to 5. This is introduction of ordinances. The public hearing will be held on October 3rd, 2022. The first one we have is 5A. This is ordinance 2012-2022, an ordinance authorizing the sale of Lot 12 and Block 222 as shown on the tax map of the Township of Hamilton and granting to the owner or owners of said real property contiguous to the same right to prior refusal to purchase such land in the Township of Hamilton, specifically High Bank Road. Committee, questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Cheek, second by Ms. Hopkins. Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins? Yes. Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mr. Talley?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
All right, we'll move on to B, ordinance 2013-2022, an ordinance authorizing the sale of Lot 758. Lot 7 is shown on the tax map of the Township of Hamilton. This one is the American Legion building, folks. It's finally happening, and that eyesore, thanks to redevelopment in this town, is finally going to become a single-family residence. So it's a wonderful thing. Committee, questions, comments?
Aaron, I know that there were some issues with him getting him straightened out with the state, historical, everything all squared away.
Everything's squared away.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Will we in time see the redevelopment design, redevelopment plan? Will we see that? Yes, yeah. Okay.
Any other questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Vitale, second by Ms. Hopkins. Rita, could we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins? Mrs. Link?
Yes,
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and introduced.
All right, we'll move on to 6A, awards, bids, contracts / change orders. A, resolution authorizing extension of the snow plowing services contract, bid 2021-99, for the period 10/1/2022 to 4/30/2023, not to exceed $50,000. This is just an extension. Questions, comments? I'll entertain a motion if none.
moved.
Motion by Mrs. Link,
Second.
second by Mr. Cheek. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins? Yes. Mrs. Link?
Yes,
I'm sorry, was that a yes?
yes,
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, next we move on to B, resolution authorizing acceptance of proposal from Pro Phoenix Corporation for add-on software for Citizen Service Portal and annual support and maintenance in the amount not to exceed $5,800. This is allowing us now, and I believe we can now take credit card payments in our construction office?
That's true, absolutely. This is add-on software to our existing proprietary Pro Phoenix fire module, allow us to receive the new state-mandated certificate of insurances and integrate with a third-party credit card provider.
Fantastic. Committee, questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion, please.
so moved.
Motion by Mrs. Link,
Second.
second by Mr. Cheek. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins? Mrs. Link? I'm sorry, I'm not here.
Yes,
Thank you. Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Next, we will move on to 7. This is the consent agenda, items A through J. Is there anything that you wish to have removed for further discussion? I would like to see us discuss E, F, and G, please. With that, I'll entertain a motion for the consent agenda, A through D, and H through J, please. Motion by Ms. Hopkins,
Second.
second by Mr. Cheek. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, so 7E. Can we get an update, Mr. Engineer, on this one? Bob, can you have any update on E? It was tabled for further investigation, and I haven't received anything. It's just popped back up on the agenda.
I spoke with Mr. Smith,
You spoke with him, okay?
and what it is, the bond was pooled in 2008, so the numbers of, the performance numbers are much lower in today's standards,
Okay,
but he has to go by what the bond was pooled for in 2008,
fantastic.
but he agreed with everything.
Committee, any other questions or comments? That satisfies me. I will entertain a motion, please.
Motion?
Motion. Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we'll move on to F.
And Mr. Mayor, I can give you an update on, actually, both F and G are the same thing. We were in touch with the applicant's attorney. And his indication was that was resolved, I guess, back when this was approved 10 years ago in front of the planning board. As far as what they had bonded for what we were inspecting, all those improvements were completed. If there were any sidewalks to be done, they were either within the county right of way or the state right of way. The state had indicated they were going to do that work. Obviously, that was going to be under their dollar, not the township's. But as far as the guarantees that we have, those items were completed satisfactorily.
Okay, so there's no exposure to the township or
None
the
whatsoever, no.
development? Okay. If that satisfies me. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Link. Second by Ms. Hopkins. All in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, we'll move on to G. Joe, if you would, please.
G or H, sir? H?
H, please,
H,
yes.
okay. H is a resolution authorizing submission of an application with Atlantic County Office of Cultural and Heritage Affairs. It's going to enable the town to apply for the General Programming Support Grant category for a regranting program, for an arts regranting program, amount up to $10,000.
So this is us working in cooperation with the county in order to bring arts and entertainment to the township.
Correct.
I have no further questions. I'll entertain a motion if there's no further questions.
Motion.
Motion. I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye, please. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, we'll move on to personnel, please. 8A, resolution appointing Leanne Morton as a part-time records clerk for the police department at $16.51 an hour, start date to be determined, contingent upon successful completion of the background process.
For 8, A, B, C, and E, I requested resumes for these employees, but was told that, I don't know exactly, Joe, how,
Well, one, we don't have any, all the resumes are done through the HR director. And as I said, she's not here this week. She's on, getting married, so I don't have anything to provide to.
then there was another, on top of that, there was a question about if we should be allowed to see them, correct?
Well, no, that's worded differently, confidentiality type aspect, but correct.
Bob?
Thank you.
Under the hiring practices provision, it says all members. But it also goes on to say that that material is confidential and privileged. I could see no harm in any one of you looking at them privately and giving them back to HR immediately after your review. And that would be my suggestion. I think that's the fair way to do it.
Right.
I mean, we receive confidential stuff in our packets all the time.
Right.
It's marked confidential,
What I'm saying is you requested this at like 3:30 today,
okay?
and HR director is out all week, so we can get that confidentially to you when she gets
Nobody,
back.
so if something happens this week that we need the HR director, we can't do anything?
You're asking only for the resumes of somebody, and this packet came out on Thursday. We could have gotten the answer to you on Thursday or Friday, actually, but you asked it for around 3 o'clock today.
Yeah, because I work at night, so, and sleep during the day, I'm sorry. I'll try to fix that.
Okay.
But I was able to get Deborah Onemuller's resume. So I just want to make sure, are we allowed to get them or not? Because I did get one.
I would suggest that, currently, don't we have a hiring committee? And that means that's 2 members, right? And they're the front people, the lead on these things. I still think that any one of you has the right to review it, but I think it has to be done in a way that satisfies the second paragraph of what I showed you earlier, Carl, and that is the confidentiality of it. And applications for employment aren't quite HIPAA regulations. Yeah, they're not medical, but they're as close as you can get to personal private information. So it has to be respected in that regard. So my suggestion would be, and I'll be glad to discuss it with Joe, the mechanism on how to do it, but I think that any one of you should have the right to do it.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, any other questions or comments on A? If not, I'll entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
second. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins? Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
So Chief, did you hire this person? Leanne Morton?
It was an interview process, and everything, so, excuse me. So, everything's good to go on your approval. So,
Meets all the minimum requirements?
that's correct.
Good. I vote yes. Thank you.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, we'll move on to B, resolution appointing Eric Moran as part-time fire prevention inspector at an hourly rate of $20 an hour, effective 9/26/2022, contingent upon successful completion of employment and physical background check. Committee, questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion, please.
Motion.
Motion,
Second.
second. Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins? Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Who hired this person? I just want to know, does this person meet all the minimum qualifications? Does anybody know that?
Everything goes through the HR director. Everything is abided by their job descriptions. Those who are qualified were nominated for hiring process.
So that would be a yes.
Correct.
Okay, I vote yes. Thank you.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, we'll move on to C, resolution appointing Aaron Krantz as a part-time fire prevention inspector at an hourly rate of $20 an hour, effective 9/26/2022, contingent upon successful completion of employment, physical, and background check. Committee, questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion, second. Rita?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, D, resolution to increase the salary of Christina Lizitsky from $43,946.74 to $51,946.74, effective July 1st, 2022. Joe, you want to give a little background on that? Any questions from committee?
If she, so am I to understand she doesn't have her QPA, right? But if she passes her QPA exam, will she be given another raise?
So I'm not sure we can talk about personnel matters like that and specifics of
Is it
background.
pending?
I believe it's pending. I don't know what the status is. I know she's gone through the courses, and she's
Part
gone.
of our packet includes that she is, it says in qualifying
completed the
her to
coursework.
sit for the exam.
She's completed the coursework to sit for the exam. That I know.
It's gray. Any action taken would be contingent upon that. So you can vote on it now.
I can also just add that she's been serving in this role and doing the job that Mary was doing since she left. So she's already been assuming these roles and responsibilities for quite some time.
She won't get
Well, I believe we provided a partial increase because she has successfully passed all of the courses in order to take that.
We're getting too far now.
Yeah, that's where I was going with this, thank you.
The resolution that's in your packet, that's the resolution we're going to pass. I just want to be clear on that, or are you amending this resolution?
We are not amending the resolution.
Okay. All right.
Committee, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. I will motion for Ms. Lozitsky. I think she does an amazing job, and so I motion it. I have a motion and a second. Rita, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins? Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right. Lastly, for personnel, we have E, resolution to appoint Deborah Ommuller as Land Use Administrator at a salary of $65,000 per year and increasing her part-time dual position of Industrial Economic Development Commission salary to $5,000 a year. Committee, questions, comments?
Comment.
Please.
Deborah's done an amazing job with zoning, and unfortunately, you get a lot of the brunt when people say, hey, why aren't we finding, why aren't we doing this, why aren't we doing that? And as we all are learning the process, we're learning that you can only do so much within your bandwidth, and you have done an excellent job. So I'm motioning this one forward.
Fantastic. I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins? Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
I abstain.
Mayor King?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 abstention. Motion carries.
All right, we'll move on to approval. Minutes. A, regular meeting minutes of September 6, 2022. Motion, please.
Were the changes I made added, I requested?
Yes, I sent them out again.
Okay.
Is that a motion, Mr. Vitale?
Yeah,
I have a motion by Mr. Vitale.
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Cheek. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We'll move on to B, minutes. Executive session meeting minutes of September 6, 2022.
so moved.
Motion by Mr. Vitale,
Second.
second by Mr. Cheek. Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins? Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, and then we have the bill list. Bill list total $623,089.10. That's an easy one. I'll motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, we'll move on to reports. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. The township continues to hold meetings to engage current and prospective partners as part of economic development, and the EDC will be coordinating with the Department of Community Planning for event coordination for both businesses and residents. Administration completed contract negotiations with Dispatch. We completed the fire administration job description along with the adopted fire administrator position, and the town's working with council in continuation of consolidation and will communicate all development with the fire companies. The township is also taking an active role to assist in creating partnership opportunities with the fire departments for community events that will increase volunteerism and overall interest. The township continues to work with the court system to address maintenance on problem-prone properties, in addition to implementing the abandoned properties program. And just two other quick updates real fast, Mayor, if you don't mind. A quick thank you to Public Works. The conditions at the spillway are normal, and water levels at the lake are also normal as well. So thank you for Brett and your crew. 22 road program is being bid out, and those roads, Franklin Drive, Linden Ave, Prague Ave, Pontiac Ave, and Tunney. And for finance, thank you very much, Cindy and CFO and overall finance. Our construction department is now taking online credit card transactions, and we are making progress to integrate electronic payment processing for other departments before the end of the year, making our organization much more customer-friendly. That's my report.
Fantastic, Joe. Any questions, committee? Mr. Solicitor.
I'm glad to say I have nothing to report.
When you don't have anything to report, it's always good news for the township, so thank you, Bob.
Bob, I have a question for you. I'd like to put something to rest. Is there any conflict of interest with me being on the dam committee?
I think you're asking me a question that more appropriately belongs outside of this forum. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know a reason for it. I don't know a reason not for it. You're kind of blindsiding me here. If I had to give an answer, I wouldn't want to right now. Only because I don't have, I know as much as you do just by sitting in on the meetings. I've been at every one you've been to. So I can't see a basis for saying yes, but I couldn't rule out other problems that could come up. So I'm very uncomfortable answering that question in this forum. I hope you understand that.
I really don't, but okay.
That's as much as I want to say, Carl. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Carl has, you've been on
I
that.
didn't ask your advice.
Ms. Dix, please, this is a public meeting. Mr. Samian and Mr. Patali have the floor. Anything else?
Nope.
Committee, any other questions or comments from Mr. Samian? Mr. Engineer?
Nothing further, unless there's any questions or comments from,
Tunney Avenue. I know there's some drainage issues on there. Will that be addressed? Okay.
We've already done our film work and we're putting together plans. Yeah, we're already putting together the plans, and that's part of it. We did our field investigation, and we're quantifying the plans now.
Excellent, thank you.
Time frame for leaking?
The application was submitted to the Atlantic County Health Department. I just received a draft copy of the floor plans today, so hopefully within the next, 3 weeks, we can get that bid.
So folks at home, when do you think the porta potties will be leaving Leapy Track?
I guess depends on how quick they can get it built, but this year.
This year, thank you. That's wonderful news, so thank you.
Just applied for the septic system now?
Yes, we designed a septic. The application went in today, correct.
And the floor plan's not approved yet?
I just got it today.
Could have sworn I saw it 6 months ago.
No, there was never a floor plan. Actually, I was just authorized by committee in July to even go ahead with what we're doing. So I never saw floor plans until today.
Any other questions for the engineer? Anything else, Joe?
That's it.
All right, we'll move on to Township Committee members. Mrs. Lee, please.
I was talking to my niece Jennifer Hansen last night, and she has done a mammoth job in recovery for people suffering from drug addiction. And she told me that people really don't realize how bad it is out there. She said every week there are 2 deaths that occur, even with the people that, she comes in contact with. And they seem to be okay, and then they just fall off the wagon and, but 2 deaths a week, that's not a very good thing. I mean, that's terrible. And I had just clipped out a newspaper article involving Anthony Scott Hunt. He was 38, of Weymouth Township. He's not in our township, but it's close enough. And he went through all these programs, and I guess, he seemed like he had a lot to live for. He had children and had lots of dreams and aspirations. But I guess drugs don't discriminate, and he passed away from drug overdose. And I don't know what, I know we have certain programs through the court system, but I would like to be apprised more about what Hamilton Township is actively doing now. I know we've reached out to the court systems, but this is just an unbelievable situation. Sorry to bring that up, but let's think about that and let's see what we can do.
Thank you, Mrs. Link. Mr. Vitale. Art in the Park was last week, was Saturday, had great weather, lots of vendors, lots of people, really went well. So I'd like to thank the historic, what are they, Historic Club, Society, I feel bad, I keep getting them mixed up with, yeah. So they put on a great job, that was very nice on Saturday. 9/11, I know we had to cancel because of the weather. I talked to Reverend Ash on Saturday and talked about in the future trying to figure out a plan B if the weather's going to be bad. We talked about possibly using the Hess School, the cafeterium there, that we believe that would work well. So hopefully next year we'll reach out to them and have a plan B for that. So it was sad not to have that. I know a lot of people were upset about that. So hopefully next year we'll have a plan B if the weather goes south on us. Boat races, they were very successful. We had 15 local sponsors, brought in over $3,000 for them. That's the first time they ever had sponsorships. And they were very excited about that. Last year they only had 17 boats. This year they had 27 boats. Next year we plan to have more. So we're really going to try to build that up. Saturday was a fantastic day. We had the Greater Egg Harbor Regional High School food truck there. So it was nice to get get our high school involved. They were there both days. Sunday, weather went a little bit south, so we sped things up and got the races done a lot quicker. But everybody was very happy. Everything went really, really well. Last week, there was a graduation from Firefighter 1, so I'd like to congratulate from Cologne, Ray Cabrales, from Laureldale, Charles Garcia, Arthur Train, and Tyler Wynn, and from Weymouth, Nick Ulrich. So welcome to our local fire companies, and thank you for your service. And that's all I have. Reagan, Maddie, miss you, love you, hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Ms. Hopkins?
A whole lot, because I'm anxious to get out of here like everybody is. But I want to thank everybody for coming out this evening. And Barbara, as I see the audience, we have a voting referendum on October 18th for the school board. So just to remind everybody, there's an extra election that's out there. And just to thank everybody.
Yes, not the 18th.
October 6th.
October 6th,
Thank you, thank you. It's for the school, it's for the kids, it's an important election. And just to thank everybody for coming out.
Mr. Cheek?
I have no comment.
I'm gonna join you with that. Go Birds. So that's it. That's what I have. This is a public meeting. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak?
I'm Eileen Dix. I moved to Mays Landing as a 1-year-old, and I've seen a lot in this town, but the reason I'm here tonight is extremely upsetting. I'm going to start to read my prepared statement, and then I'm going to give the engineer the filed subdivision that I am going to address you on. Planning and zoning boards, authority and responsibility. These boards are responsible to review and recommend land use ordinance changes, review and approve or deny applications. The zoning board reviews requests to deviate from the requirements. Their decisions are understood to be binding. Changes should be made by filing for an amendment to the prior approval. Most of the township is located in the Pinelands Preservation/Protection Area. We came into compliance about 1983. Applications to the Pinelands and the planning or zoning boards are costly in professional fees. Who then is responsible to enforce compliance with the board's decisions? That would be the decisions and resolutions. This issue is a minor subdivision approved by the planning board with signatures of Chairman Dahl and Secretary Rainbow, April 21 of 2009. Strict lines were delineated on the filed map. This filed map is extracted from the Atlantic County Clerk's office. Anybody can do it. I did it. And I'm not the techno genius here. Item 1, I'm going to hand this to you now. There's the top is the original, and underneath is where I will be describing to you now as 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you need my magnifying glass, I will provide it. I don't know if you need it, but I want it back. The next item for your comparison, as I start to go through the list, this will be the legal description, and then we'll talk about the pictures.
To follow along, or I don't, Bob.
The woods line on item 1 clearly shows the small area permitted to be used for the new home, the driveway and the septic system. The northwest corner of the lot is next to the driveway number 2. Driveway number 2 is to the mother lot, which has 2 driveways. The photos show the total clearing of the wetlands buffer as shown in the 4 pictures. The fence and boulder picture are sited on this property adjacent to driveway number 2. The cleared wetlands buffer was then filled in. Today, as I looked in the street for the survey pin at the end of driveway number 2, in the paving looking for the survey pin, it's a large grass lawn with sheds and fence also installed. I was contacted October 20th, approximately 48 weeks ago, for information on this situation, and I was asked to stay silent. I honored that respect, I respected that senior citizen who asked me for information and to stay quiet. What has occurred in the last few weeks is shocking and outrageous. Now the Pinelands says the municipality retains jurisdiction to determine whether to alter the approved Pinelands Planning Board, the Pinelands says the municipality retains jurisdiction to determine whether to alter the prior approved planning board application. What are you going to do? Are you going to cite these violations? Are you going to require to pinpoint on a survey where is that west property line along driveway number 2 with those boulders that block the driveway and the electric company can't read the meter that's on the barn that's at the back of the property? This government must stop the pain being inflicted on those 45-year residents on that farm that was the horse farm of Frank and Mabel Doherty. It's got to stop. The vile, verbal, and written attack on this victim must stop now. Don't contact that family. People sitting there know exactly who said what was F-bombed in this building. Don't interrupt me. The F-bombs in this building were horrible and is totally wrong.
We have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, yes, they do, because they've got the papers.
I'm sitting
That's
here,
all I have
no
for
idea what
tonight.
you're
Thank
talking
you.
about. Does any committee member know what Ms. Dix is talking about? You're very animated and you're threatening in nature. What are you talking about? I don't know. Have a clue
I'm
what you're talking
talking about total violation
Ms.
of your
Dix, if you
planning
would like to
board
meet tomorrow
subdivision.
morning, I'd be more than happy to meet with you and go over this.
No, thank you. Fix it.
I don't know what to fix, Ms. Dix. Is there anyone else, Joe, is there anybody else in the public that wishes to speak?
Yes, I have a question for Joe. Pro Phoenix Corporation, Joe. Does that mean we can now use our debit card to pay our property taxes? Well, what about the property taxes? I would like to. Do you know how soon?
You can pay your taxes with a credit card. You can pay your taxes with a credit card. Yes.
Debit card? Debit card too? Okay. Thank you, Jim. Anyone else in the public that wishes to speak?
And the debit card.
Good evening.
Hi, I'm a resident here at Hamilton Township,
Oh,
and
have to talk up.
Bring that down just a little bit to you so we can hear you, please.
Can I hear have your name, please?
sure, my name's Alice Henry.
Hi.
Please.
Thank you. I'm actually here because I actually received a letter from another resident and became aware of what is going on in regards to Trophy Park, which was discussed during September 6th meeting. And I'm actually very concerned regarding the impact that this is going to have regarding property and property values and quality of life in the area, specifically as I live nearby the area that would be affected. I think that this might potentially adversely affect individuals who purchased an RD5, which that was one of the main draws for why we purchased in an RD5. We purchased in an RD5 because we wanted to be around nature. We wanted to be in a lower traffic area. We wanted to go and be in an area that supports nature. So rezoning it to commercial is definitely not something that I would support. I would actually be more supportive of using an existing commercial area for this project. And I think that should be investigated further. Also, I'm very concerned regarding the environmental impact that this could have in regards to all the animals that would be pushed into residential areas that could cause overinhabitation, potentially endangered animals that would be losing their habitat, as well as all the trees and destruction, as this was supposed to be right next to the Pomona Woods Nature Preserve. I think that's something that needs to be addressed. Also, as you guys may be aware, most of us in the area have well water and septic. So if this proceeds further, I'm concerned regarding the impact that this could have on our services, such as what it would do to the water table. Would they be potentially thinking about using well? Are they planning to use city? Would we all have to then switch over? What is the impact to all of us residents who live in this area? I'm also curious if they've applied for anything like, or have they filed any applications? Have any applications been granted? What the status would be for work being done? What's the time frame looking like for work being done? Have any studies been conducted for environmental and traffic impacts? And where would we be able to find the reports and submissions for these reports?
First of all, thank you for being engaged and coming out and speaking this evening. Trophy Park, as you know, did a presentation, and the meeting was viewed over 800 times, so that's a good thing. We want the public to be informed. They came in, did a presentation. Now the process is they have entered into a redevelopment agreement, and now that process will start. You're going to get a lot of bites at the apple on this. There's going to be a lot of public input on this as it moves forward and it starts to progress, if it moves forward and starts to progress. Because it will have to go to planning and/or zoning, as you said. And at each one of those steps, that's when your traffic reports, that's when your impact statements, that's when all that comes out. And then that will be decided by the members of either one of those boards. And then it'll come back to us for even further input and discussion at this board. So you're going to have a lot of steps along the way to get all your questions answered.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, and go Birds.
Yes.
First of all, Mike Lazo, I'm a resident, 15 years now, Hamilton Township, business owner. I own Anytime Fitness on Main Street, had the one at Festival Mall there for 13 years, closed because of COVID. First of all, I just wanted to say, I want to thank you all. I know you guys tabled 3A. I got a little excited. Any activity on Main Street, a lot of the business owners there are just waiting for something to happen, and I just want to applaud you guys for at least attempting to be visionary. So I know that it's a tough place to be at that in the diocese, but I've been here 15 years and I've heard a lot of rhetoric, not a lot of action. So listen, wrong answer, right answer. I know a lot of people are going to have concerns and questions, but I hope it includes something with parking, because I think that would be detrimental to a lot of the small businesses. A few of them wanted to come out tonight. Unfortunately, they're working their businesses. I snuck out. So I just want to applaud you guys for even thinking outside the box, because I know if we always do what we always did, we're going to always get what we always got. And I've owned that building now 7 years, or I think, and I bought it with the idea that there was going to be a vision for Main Street, and I wanted to be one of the first to be a part of it, because it takes investment from the private sector, and I was willing to do so. So to hear that there's some activity and some, on your part, willing to make some investments, it really excites business owners. We're really excited, and I just want to applaud you all for at least being visionary. It is the art of seeing what's invisible to others, and I hope people are just willing to be optimistic, because I think the pessimism is what kills momentum in business. So thank you all, and go Birds.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Anyone else wish to speak?
My name is Richard Rubin, and I'd like...
Uh-oh. A little early for a mic drop there, Richard.
It was good.
That,
Time this karaoke start. This is going to
that
be
will
good.
come at the end of my comments.
There you go.
I would like to second all the concerns and comments made by Ms. Henry on Trophy Park. The thought of a successful absolutely sends shivers up my spine. I don't know how Pinelands would even think of destroying all the trees in that area. It just does not sound like an appropriate project for the neighborhood that it is in. I've spoken to several of my neighbors. I can tell you they're all upset. We realize this is early in the process, but just the thought of a possibility shakes them badly. I wonder, hypothetical, assuming everybody involved gives it the thumbs up and you folks on the committee go along with it, what would it take from the citizenry to change your mind? A petition with thousands of signatures, or once the committee rules, that's it?
Well, I appreciate that, and I'll refer to my comments that I said to Ms. Henry, but, you know, we're going to, and we have an amazing zoning board, we have an amazing planning board, volunteers that have dedicated a lot of time to give you a town that you want to live in. So they're going to look at this information, whichever board ends up with that application, then they're going to disseminate all that information, and then they're going to make recommendations. And I can assure you that they're going to pay attention, and I can assure you this township committee is going to take any information you as the public provide to us and or provide to them in the consideration as we move forward. You just stated a very large obstacle. There's a huge obstacle. You know, what the township wants or doesn't want at this point doesn't matter until Pinelands makes a ruling on what they want. So that's the biggest hurdle right now, and you know, it's going to take some time for that hurdle to be addressed.
One last issue. I think the gentleman who made the presentation offered or answered a question concerning why their project in
Jackson?
Jackson failed. I believe he said it was interrupted by the pandemic, but it was thousands and thousands of signatures on a petition in an area just like where it's being proposed in Hamilton Township, and that's what shut it down. So, thank you for the encouraging remarks.
Again, thank you very much for getting engaged and coming out and speaking. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to speak? Mr. Stry.
My concern is from what I understand, there's a backlog in the municipal court, and specifically with some zoning violations. I'll give you 3 examples.
Sure.
The first one is Walmart. There's 8 tractor trailers that are parked in the parking lot. I believe a summons was issued in May. The issue of the tractor trailers was brought before the zoning board, planning board years ago. Perhaps you and Mr. Cheek were part of that.
We were.
Part of the testimony to increase the size of Walmart was that tractor trailers would no longer be needed. This exact issue has come up several times over the years, and the issue has been resolved rather quickly. In this particular case, it's been since May. The tractor trailers are still there. So that is one issue that I think, I guess what I understand is that the courts are not hearing that issue before the court.
Well, and again, Bruce, thank you. And I appreciate, Bruce, that I know, Bruce, you honestly care about the aesthetics and the way this town looks, and we appreciate every time that you point something out. We are running into a situation, and I think Ms. Hopkins spoke on it earlier. It's very frustrating when you have a zoning officer that things are brought to their attention, and they go ahead and they go out, they inspect it, they make a decision on whether a violation needs to be issued or not, and then they issue it. And then to have that violation basically ignored. It's not a backlog in the court system anymore. The court system is running efficiently. They are caught up on their cases. It's a disregard. I believe it's a product of bail reform. It's a disregard where people are just not showing up, and there's no bench warrant being issued for it after they don't show up.
So what is the solution?
Mr. Sandman, we had a conversation, and Mr. Sandman is trying to, and maybe he can report on it, we need to be, first and foremost, the loudest person in the room when it comes to the county court system for these particular violations. And Mr. Sandman, do you want to?
Sure. I have an experience right now, Bruce, where on the Black Horse Pike there is a zoning violation that is extraordinary.
That was one of my examples I was going to give.
I thought so. It's repeated, it's flagrant, and it has resulted in the issuance of many summonses, photographs taken of the violations. It got listed for trial. The owner of the property did not show up. And Deborah and I received emails saying, we don't issue bench warrants for this kind of thing. So with the permission of the administrator, I am going to try to enter my appearance to act as the prosecutor in this case. Debbie prepared a list of all of the summonses. She has the photographs prepared. And I'm going to ask the court for a date certain trial. If you read the rules of court, if I'm allowed, if I'm permitted to act as the prosecutor, because usually that only happens when there's cross complaints. But in this particular case, it's so egregious that I think they'll go along with it. I may have subpoena power. And if I serve him through our police department with a subpoena to be in court on a court-ordered day, and he doesn't show up, just then, maybe then, I can get a bench warrant. But I'm taking it very seriously, because I ride by it myself. And I don't live in this town anymore, but I lived here for 36 years, and I'm very proud of this place. I miss it. That is one of the violations that I've come across where the court system has kind of let us down. So the only way I know to get around is what I'm telling you now. If they'll allow me to prosecute the case, I'll be more than happy going to try it. And when I'm done, something will happen. Because what's happening there is egregious. Now that is the only contact I've had with the new court. I don't practice in that. I do personal injury and I do municipal law. So Debbie and I are working on it. And tomorrow a letter's going out saying I would like a date certain trial. And here's the court rule, here's the law, I'd like to be appointed prosecutor. If that happens, I promise you, I'll go in there swinging. And something will get done.
Thank you. That's good to hear. Thank you. The third one was Neville's. Okay. Township committee voted unanimously to in a resolution, which was, I thought, rare, I'd never heard this before, a year ago, to have the applicant or prospective applicant submit a site plan by the end of last year, install a fence, placard the cars for employees only, and a few other things. That was a year ago. That is a flagrant violation, and they've kind of ignored, I guess the summons was issued, again, same scenario. The court is ignoring it, apparently.
So I want to be very careful the court isn't ignoring it. They're processing in a way the courts now work.
Mhm.
And that's an issue. I mean, when you can't hold someone accountable because the law says you can't, that's an issue. And again, one property has received 23 separate violations. Blatant, flagrant safety issues also. They won't show up for court. So Mr. Salmon, as he stated, we talked about it last week, and we're looking at another plan of attack. We have to find a way to compel them to do this. This is our town. I mean, and again, we want it looking right, and we want those that are violating our statutes to be held accountable.
And I appreciate that. I know it's a slow process, but I am glad to hear that Mr. Salmon is personally getting involved and Township Committee, because you see it, these are just three.
I know.
There's a lot more, and I know you guys feel the same way, but you just need to put some resources, and because it's going nowhere but down.
We will report back, Bruce, once Mr. Salmon does his, what he can possibly do. We'll report back and just let the public know how we're making out with that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce. Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to speak?
Hi, Warren Elson, Cypress Street. I just wanted to report on the school district. We are back with kids in school. The teachers are very excited to come back to school, back to normalcy. We have a meet the principal later tomorrow with our new principal at Dr. Hallstrom at Davies. She's a long resident of Hamilton Township. She grew up here, went through all the schools, so we're excited to see her back. And we're also working on some transportation issues. I'm sure you've seen on what's going on Mays Landing. We are very aware of it. We are working on contingency plans. The problem is that there are no other competitors in the market. So Shepherd is, kind of running the show a little bit there, but we are seeing the issues. They are agreeing to work on them, but like any beginning of any school year, we have a lot of issues with transportation day one through first week. I know my son, for example, seems like he's being picked up on time now. Took about a week, so hopefully those long delays in being picked up will resolve. And they are shifting some routes around. So for the kids that you're hearing that are having to cross a major road, those are all being addressed and or have been addressed. And the issues were, for whatever reason, some of the routes were combined and causing some delays, but those have all been separated out. So we're hoping this week we'll start to see maybe some of those kind of messagings calm down on the social media.
Appreciate you reporting on that. Were there any provisions built in for lack of performance?
No, the problem is we are part of a larger contract with Greater Egg, and Egg Harbor Township, so not Egg Harbor Township, Greater Egg. So we don't get a large voice in it. So we are working on contingencies to become self-sufficient in that. But right now, you can't even purchase buses. They're just not available through the state contract, so we're kind of waiting for the supply to come back. And we're planning to purchase some buses that will allow us to do some of the after-school activities and contingency issues. So if we have an issue that Shepherd's not willing to work with us on, we have a handful of buses that we can take care of those issues with us, and then we'll continue to explore being able to get our own transportation unit completely, but it takes time and money. And we will run into the same issues of not enough bus drivers and not enough supplies of buses and all that kind of stuff. So we're just looking to augment it so that we are not so hamstrung by one company and become more diverse in that fact. So, but it just takes time, unfortunately.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks.
Anyone else wish to speak this evening? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion, please.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, folks.